The week go by, we forget what we just heard. But it's something that you need to remember so that we can get what's ours in 2009. I don't know if y'all remember a certain word that got you through, but I remember. Do y'all have a word that I have a word. I have a word. My word came in October. I thought I wasn't going to make it, but I made a decision. I just, yeah, that's all right. At the end of that type of thing. But my word from November 23rd, oh yes, now that was a word for me. No longer will I be devalued by you, because I know the God that I serve, He values me. I know she got hers, but I got to get mine. It was in December when the word on me. Okay, they remember a word, but you look like y'all don't remember the word. So let me remind you what went forth in 2008.
On the other end is an accident. One accident after another, but both of them find themselves in the same church. Can I tell you that one thing that can endanger corporate vision is when there are two different perspectives. I wish I had somebody in here. When one person has one opinion and the other person has another opinion, and their opinions come from their perspective, and their perspective is based upon their past experience. So one person can look at it and say it's green because everything in their life has been green. The other person can say it's blue because everything in their life has been blue. The other person can be so optimistic, watch this, to say that everything's going to work out because everything is worked out in their past. While the other person can be so pessimistic and say it ain't never going to work out. Touch your neighbor and say you need to adjust your perspective. And you also need to surround yourself with people who know, watch this, how to look at life not from their past experience, but look at life from the futuristic promise that God has made. Because there ain't nothing that's going on that God can't fix. And there ain't nothing that comes up against you that God can't handle. And there ain't no devil that comes against you that God can't defeat. So you want to adjust your focus and watch things change in your life. Hold on, I got to get on out of here. Something. But the test that you have right now, it is not developmental, baby. It is diagnostic. God wants to see what's in you. I wish I had a few witnesses in here. Can I preach to somebody in here? It is this kind of test that does not build your character. It is this kind of test that reveals your character. I wish I had a witness in here. All the stuff you've been through up until this point was just building you up. But this thing you're going through right now, this thing that is more challenging than you've ever faced, this thing, God have mercy, can I talk to anybody beside me? This thing that has you on edge, watch this, it ain't building you, it's revealing your character. And can I help somebody to understand that God knows what's in you? I need somebody in here. Oh God, He is faithful, watch this, not to allow you to be tempted above that which you are able, but with every temptation He provides a way of escape. I came to tell somebody in here today that God is just allowing you to go through this particular test to reveal to you and to reveal to everybody around you that you'll bend but you won't break, that you got the stuff in you that champions are made of. Alright, again, I'm not preaching to everybody, but I'm preaching to those of you who've been through enough tests, who've been through enough hell and had enough problems to understand that what I'm going through right now ain't nothing more than God getting ready to show the world what I'm made of. It ain't nothing more than God showing every hater and every detractor, do what you want and say what you please, I'm still here. Come at me any way you want to, I'll be here when you go. I will stand. God have mercy. I need somebody to understand that the God the God that you serve is the God of the outcast. And God, as hard as it is to believe, I want you to know that everything that you've been through from day one to present day is all a part of God's perfect plan. I tell y'all, I didn't come to preach to everybody, but I did come to preach to the used, to the abused, to the outcast, to the misunderstood, to those who have been desired, to those who have been hurt in the process, to those who have been thrown away and thrown aside. God told me to tell you that He has you right where He wants you, and He is the God of the outcast. And just because they treated you a certain way doesn't mean that the way they feel about you is the way that God feels about you. You want to touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, He's the God of the outcast. They might devalue you, but God values you. They might talk you down, but God builds you up. They might push you out, but God brings you in. They might bring up your past. They might bring up your present. But all that God brings up is your future. Somebody shout, He is the God of the outcast. I'm giving you a specific thing. Oh, my brothers and my sisters, I came tonight to tell you with these next 16 minutes that I got that God wants you to know that He's seen you stumble, and He's seen you struggle, and He knows that you've gotten off course. But if you will trust Him, this year that's coming, the thing that He promised you, it is going to happen. All right, I'm gonna preach to myself. You stumbled, you staggered, you missed it in points, you turned left when you should have turned right, you said stuff you shouldn't have said, but you still trusted me. And if you trust me, everything that I promised will come to pass. Now I need to see who I'm really preaching to. If I ain't talking to you, if you don't have a promise, stay seated. But if you got a promise from God that's still on the table, you ought to tell somebody next to you that this year is the year that it happened for me. For me, all right, I see where my church is now. The rest of y'all can just listen. You may be seated. God, I see where my people with promises are. I see where my destiny folk are. I see where my folk who this year don't get theirs, and the devil can't do nothing about it. Oh, God, I'm preaching to y'all. Take it, neighbor, neighbor. This year it's going to happen for us. Touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, in 2008, 2007, 2006, I exposed myself to the wrong people. But in 2009, I'm asking God to hook me up with those in my life who can handle who I am. And when they see who I am, we gonna hook up together and we gonna produce what I haven't produced in the past. Somebody lift your hands and begin to give God praise for the hook up that's gonna happen in 2009. And notice what Jacob did. He takes them down by the water. Water is symbolic of the Spirit. Lord, help us this year to have spiritual connection. I'm connected with enough people who run on the same Spirit. I'm connected with enough people who run on the same mind. I'm connected with people who didn't want the same thing. But in 2009, Lord, hook me up. Lord, connect me with somebody who's going to help me get to the next dimension of my destiny. Touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, you're sitting in the right place. I've been through hell. I've had to reap what I sowed. But in my reaping, God was setting me up for a revelation of my next dimension. And you fortunate to sit beside me. Why? Because I'm anointed. Why? Because I'm chosen. Why? Because I'm blessed. And the blessing that's on my life can't be contained